Sarah Forsyth, the innocent teenager who was forced to become a notorious hooker. When you are a teenager, you think of conquering the world. With hope so high and spirits alive, you are ready to take up the burden of life finally upon your shoulders and accept your role in the social system. Your career and dreams mean the world to you for attaining your dream jobs. You can even cross borders and seek out the finest opportunities worldwide. However, the darkness of the world always exists in varying forms. Sometimes, this darkness ends up destroying lives that once had hopes and a million dreams in their hearts. Today's case will tell you about the heart-wrenching tale of a girl whose dream became the greatest nightmare for her. Welcome to AF Crime, the channel that brings you fascinating crimes all around the world. If you're interested in this kind of content, then this channel is for you. Make sure to like this video, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to keep you updated on our recent uploads. Now, let's get right into the video and investigate more about the case of Sarah Forsyth, the woman who ended up being a sex worker and saw the horrible side of human trafficking with her own eyes. It wasn't always like this, as Sarah recalls her experiences as an escort. Her eyes twinkle upon recalling the time when she was unaware of the monsters around her. Just like any other teenage girl, she had just graduated from high school and was now intending to become a nurse. Sarah was always like this. Kindness and compassion for others were her intrinsic part of her nature, and that's why she decided to pursue nursing, because she loved making others happy. It was the early 90s, and there was still a lot of restrictions when it came to expanding the career wings. However, Sarah believed in her strength. She knew the art of dealing with challenges with a big, wide grin. Right when she obtained her initial training in nursing, she started the rigorous procedure of a job hunt. This was indeed a humongous task for her, because she had no previous experience working in a professional environment. Sarah applied everywhere she could when her eyes caught attention concerning the job of a nursery nurse. Sarah had a fine bonding with children, so she thought that this could be her calling. But the only problem was that the job wasn't located in her home of Gateshead, Tyneside. It wasn't actually located in Britain, but the job was located in Amsterdam. Sarah was excited to take up the role, so she decided to consider this opportunity, and her mother supported her in the decision because she knew that Sarah was strong-willed and knew how to make her way out in the world. Sarah started preparing for the journey ahead, and finally the day came when she flew to Amsterdam. However, she was unaware of the fact that from here, her life was going to take a dark turn. Right at the Schiphol airport, she was held captive at gunpoint by none other than John Reese, who was a wanted criminal in the UK and had a previous background in crimes like human trafficking, kidnapping, and abuse. He was the one who had planted this whole drama of posting a fake job offer in the newspaper because he was playing the role of a pimp in Amsterdam. When he felt that the women who were working for him were no longer attracting clients, that's exactly when he came up with this idea, because he knew that someone will definitely consider this opportunity as a life-changing one, and eventually poor Sarah fell into his trap. Sarah states in her interviews and memoir that right from the airport, she was taken to the hub, where there were multiple girls of different nationalities, and all of them had originally come to Amsterdam for a better future, but were eventually trapped by Reese and his allies. Just like any ordinary girl, the 19-year-old Sarah tried to resist hard against this, but John warned her that he will rip her head off if she tried to resist or did something which infuriated him. This made Sarah afraid, and she silently accepted her fate. Later on, John sold her to a brothel where she was out in the worst ever conditions. She had no communication with anyone in her family, and her passport was also stolen by John at the airport. So, there was no way to get out of this hellhole. Sarah tried to keep her senses calm, but she couldn't, because the first time someone treated her like any other whore, Sarah ended up getting badly wounded. She recalls that she was trying to understand what was happening to her, but she was unable to keep her senses calm, and her whole body was shaking violently because she had never experienced such a situation ever before in her life, although she was unaware that soon this was going to become a part of her life. So, She was instructed by the pimps to work by their instructions if she valued her life, and eventually she was turned into an escort who was forced to sleep with 20 people per night. If she tried to speak against it, she was gravely threatened. At first, Sarah used to believe that all these threats had no solid grounds, but were used to keep the women in place. But her shock peaked when one of the girls who hailed from Thailand was badly murdered by her pimp named Gregor. Gregor was a Yugoslavian by nationality and was very aggressive towards most of the women working in the brothel. Sarah said that it seemed that her body had lost its soul when she saw that bullet which was fired at the girl had ripped the girl apart into 2 pieces. From that day, Sarah learned to comply with the rules. She saw how many girls were continuously subject to the most disgusting forms of violence. By now, Sarah had seen numerous women getting punished for not earning good enough that could benefit Gregor. In fact, there came a time when she and the other girls were not even given a basic meal to eat, and she had to survive on a packet of M&Ms for days. As if life wasn't already so troublesome, to add more to the troubles, Sarah was introduced to crack for the first time during this worst time period of her life. It was considered an escape in the eyes of her fellow escorts, and they introduced her to cocaine. Soon, Sarah fell in love for the first time in her life, but with the rusty smell of cocaine powder. She became an addict, and in no time she was sleeping with multiple men, just to make sure that she had enough money to keep her crack supply intact. According to her, it used to numb her pain and gave her a false reality that seemed pleasant, even if for a very little while. While she was struggling with her addiction, another surprise bomb fell on her head, and that made her concerned for her life for the very first time. In years, her pimp, Gregor, revealed to her that the murder of the Thai girl was all a part of the snuff porn. It was when Sarah realized that right when the girl was dying, she had seen bright red laser lights falling all over her body. Only now she connected the dots and found that those lights were actually of the cameras used to record the snuff porn. Now, here I would like to drop a quick fact about snuff porn. Actually, snuff is a category of pornography where the individual who is indulged in sexual intercourse often ends up dead, or death is the eventual fate by the end of such films. Sarah thought a bit more about this and found that this wasn't actually the first time a girl was killed by the pimps, but even in the past, there had been incidents where girls who were performing well strangely ended up missing from the brothel. Now, everything was crystal clear to Sarah, and she knew that apart from the Thai girl, all those girls had also been murdered by Gregor. At that time, she understood one fact. If she had to save her life, she had 2 options left. One was to take her life by her own hands, and she had tried that in the past many times. But due to some strange reason, she always stopped. While the other one was to escape from this hellhole as soon as she could. She made up her mind about choosing life this time. She knew that though it was almost impossible to escape from the intense scrutiny of the pimps, she decided to try her best. She dropped multiple hints to people whenever she got a chance. She tried to approach them and inform them about how she was being held as a captive and was forced to work as a hooker. She tried a number of times. There were moments when she was almost on the verge of being caught and getting punished, but somehow a bit of luck was still there by her side. So she remained safe every time, and finally, in 1997, she was able to escape. When she escaped, initially she hid herself and requested from her well-wishers to not share this news worldwide because her captors were still looking for her and not behind bars. Initially, she was taken to Belgium, where she remained hidden for a long time. Sarah describes this time as the most horrible one of her entire life, as she was unable to sleep because of the continuous fear that someone was going to come after her and kill her, just the way they had done with the Thai girl. Due to the efforts of the organization, she eventually reached back to her home at Gateshead. But this time, the old nonchalant Sarah was no longer there. It seemed to her mother, who had tried to search for her daughter a lot, that her old Sarah was nowhere to be found. But there was a person who had not only seen the wounds of time, but had tolerated them on her own body. Though Sarah was changed as a result of her nightmarish life, she decided to not stay silent any longer. and help those girls who were still captives. So she narrated the whole incident to the authorities and gave the names of her captors along with their addresses. The authorities soon came into action and tried arresting the chief culprits like John and Gregory. However, for a long time they were unable to capture both. Right when they finally get their hands on them, they ran trials of murder and sexual trafficking on them. But as the authorities had to follow the rules of anonymity, the victim, who was Sarah in this case, was not ever given the actual details about the overall sentence of both. Sarah, however, was still resilient and expressed the hope that with the help of her voice, she will make sure that everyone understands the pain of those girls who are caught in a web of unexpected circumstances, which destroys their lives. For this purpose, Sarah even wrote a book in 2009 with the name of Slave Girl. This book is a dark memoir and deals with her recollections of her life in prison. The book became a hit across British shelves, and soon she wrote a sequel to her first book. The second book, Slave Girl, Return to Hell, deals with the aftermath of her escape and how she survived the trauma which had accumulated throughout the years in her mind. At present, Sarah is 47 years old and likes to keep herself away from the media limelight. But her activism about the issue of sexual trafficking reveals that she hasn't stopped struggling for the release of millions of those girls who are still waiting for a messiah to release them from the shackles of sexual slavery. Well, all we can hope for is a better future for our daughters where they can feel safe. Amen to that. Well, that's all from today's video. Tell us what you think about this in the comments. Also, if you feel that this case was an intriguing one, like this video and share it with all your friends. Also, subscribe to our AF Crime channel for finding more shocking tales around the world. And if you have any criminal case that you would like me to investigate, share it in the comment section below.